Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, and welcome to the Amateur Otaku Podcast. How's everybody doing out there? I am Brandon Alvarado, the Scarlet Fan here, and I'm excited to finally be here, back live with everybody out there to talk awesome anime. Thank you for joining us in this Sunday edition of the Amateur Otaku Podcast. And as usual, I am not here by myself. I am accompanied by the one, the only, the talented Isak Wolf. What's up, man?
I mean, aren't we all a bit of a daredevil?
Daredevil. Is this the right pod?
One of my favorite songs from a certain game that I'm currently playing through for review is named Daredevil.
Nice. Is that from Persona 5 Strikers, if I may ask?
Yeah, it's absolutely all.
I mean, Atlas has a way with soundtracks, don't they? Like their music is like so awesome, especially for those Persona games. It's superb. Superb.
Yeah. almost done with the game also. So
that
awesome. Should be interesting to. So once that one is done, it's off to Bravely Default 2.
Very nice. You have a big play to you, but you don't waste no time. Now,
for reference, I am granted. I had my sister and I took turns, so to speak. But we 100% of the World of Light in 1.5 days, so to speak. And I do mean 100% it.
And now we know who the real Daredevil is. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys, thank you for joining us. As you know, I'm Brandon. This is Isaac, and Isaac is with me, and we're here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast to talk awesome anime with you guys. As you guys know, we cover anime to provide you guys with an insight on all the awesome shows that are out there, those that interest us, that we believe that you guys should go check out. If you guys have not seen any anime before, this show is for you because we will cover in a nutshell. We'll give you a nice capsule of what this anime that we're going to cover is all about, so that you can decide if this show is right for you. And if you've seen it before, it is a nice environment for good, healthy discussions, so we can share our honest opinions and enjoy the wonderful anime and the particular quirks that make this anime special. Because Isaac, isn't the best anime the one that has very particular individualized quirks to it? You know what I mean? Like the best anime tend to be unique in and of themselves, even though they have tropes and stuff like that. The best anime are the unique ones. Am I right?
Yeah. Or it. I mean, it all depends on how you view it, because it's. How should I put it? I wouldn't say that, for example, and this comes from someone that is a big fan of all three, that Naruto, One Piece, and Dragon Ball has a big major quirk involved, but they are still one of the most popular franchises and all that. Yes, I think you get where I'm coming at with it.
Yeah. But I think, but if you look at it, there's certain things that are unique to those shows, you know, and the way they, like, each of them have their own dialect, their own language, their all feel, you know.
Yeah.
Even though they, of course, tackle similar topics, coming of age, growing up, they'll have the shonen feel, but they all have they all have these things that distinguish them, which is why they become so popular over time. And if you guys love what we do here at the Amateur Otaku Podcast, please take a minute, go to our YouTube channel, and subscribe to our channel. We're at 26 subscribers. Isaac is going up little by little, so I'm very excited. subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and click on the bell for notifications so you guys do not miss any single episode of the Amateur Otaku Podcast. You don't miss any stream, any live or Q&A updates, which earlier this week I did a live update of the Amateur Otaku. I will be doing a lot more of those. It was a ton of fun where I was able to talk about things that I'm doing, things that I'm reading, and all the cool stuff. Now today we're gonna which is episode 32 of season 2. We're gonna talk about something very awesome, a show that was a big hit in 2014, 2015. And it's one of those shows that I always knew from far away that it was a tough show, to say the least. But I'm really happy that we finally got around to sitting down and covering this show. And Isaac, we're gonna before we jump into the discussion, I read the synopsis and we jump into the show. When did you first hear about Your Lie in April?
I would lie if I told you, though, if I remember when I got news of it. If I'm being honest.
You couldn't help yourself, could you?
I mean,
it's right. I know it's right there. It's right there.
I mean, it would have been worse if I did it in April.
Good thing we're doing this in February and not in April, because this
it's March here.
Exactly. It would completely derail the episode. So I think it's a guts.
It's derailing the episode even now when it's March/February, depending on the time zone.
Oh boy! But so have you seen this show before? Is this the first time you watch it?
I believe I watched that one before because I do recognize it, but like I've said earlier, I have seen so many animes that some while I do enjoy them, it's I did watch that one.
Okay,
it's sort of like.
So this was probably one of those that fell to the cracks of the plethora of anime that you've explored, and it just slightly resurfaced now because we're covering it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The only thing I knew about Your Lie in April whenever I first heard of it is that it was blowing up like in anime communities. You know what I mean? Like this
That's
is one of those.
That's certainly not a lie.
Oh my god. This is one of those animes that was really big because of its so-called heartbreaking story and portrayal of characters. And I always knew about it, but I didn't want to watch it because I didn't know. I just didn't draw my interest because, I'm not.
Which surprises me, considering
it's funny.
It's an inspiring musician at heart.
Yes, I know. And the thing is that I didn't know how much music was involved. Like, I didn't know that it was about 100% musicians and how they explore the world of musicians, which to me was a huge surprise, to me at least. And a huge part of the enjoyment that I had. But I always saw it from far away because I kind of didn't want a slice of life story. I didn't want to invest, which is one of the things that I love about this show because it pushes me to try things that I wouldn't try, to cover it for you guys, but also for me so that I can enjoy the different things that are out there. Like most of the slice of life animes that I've actually forced myself to watch to a degree are because of the show, and I'm really happy that I've seen them. Of course, this is another A1 Pictures masterpiece, beautiful animation, and of course, heartbreaking story because that A1 Pictures is the same studio that brought us Anohana, which we all know that we all cried in Anohana, and not only Ano.
Yeah, I know what you mean. That series hit me hard.
And not just Anohana, It is also the studio behind your favorite show, Sword Art Online.
Fuck Sword Art Online with a tenpole.
Isaac, this is a kid friendly show until it's not. Okay.
Dude, when I just remember that I have some insane animes that
Yes, I know.
we're going to do, and for each Sword Art Online, it's just going to be double, or the Evangelion movies, for that matter.
Yay! Which, by the way, I can't wait for the movies to be released in a way that I can buy them. Like right now, you cannot stream the new versions of the Evangelion movies. You can't stream them anywhere. The DVDs and Blu-rays are ridiculously expensive because apparently you can only get them in Japan. So finally, once they finish like the fourth one that I think they're working on, hopefully we'll get. It'll be easier for us to get it because we need to cover those, and I know you can't wait. But
Yeah, because I can punish you with some older animes that will make your brain go through your nose and up through your toes.
and I know that that is not a lie. So, without further ado, how about we jump in and talk about Your Lie in April? Um, Isaac, I'm gonna go ahead and start reading the synopsis for the show. I do want to say, guys, we're gonna cover the show as a whole without major spoilers. To give you the nutshell sense of what the show is about, and then after we talk about Your Lie in April in general, we are gonna jump into a spoiler section because there's no way that we can talk about the show without the biggest moments of it. And being that it's a show that blew up so much back in 2014 and 15, a lot of people know the twist of this show. But also for those I've seen it, we want to hear your thoughts of how you felt on those moments whenever you saw the show. So I'm gonna start, Isaac. Here's a synopsis. You ready?
Yeah.
Cool. So here's a synopsis for Your Lie in April. Kyōhei Arama is a musical genius and a highly acclaimed pianist since he was a child. He would leave listeners in awe with his raw talent and masterful playing and inspire other musicians to do the same. The problem is, he cannot play anymore. Unable to cope with the loss of his mother, Koze goes through life without living within the seasons and months as they escape them. Under the behest of his childhood friend Tsubaki, he agrees to join her and their mutual friend Watari to meet a girl. Little did he know that this girl would change his life forever by becoming the musical bridge between the keys on the piano and the depths of his heart. Your Lie in April is an exploration of the power of music, finding oneself, healing, and falling in love for the first time in the midst of heartbreak, inspiration, and hope. Based on the manga by Naoshi Arakawa, directed by Kyōhei Ishiguro, and produced by A1 Pictures. This anime is available in Netflix worldwide. So, Isaac, you watch Your Lie in April probably for the fourth or third time without remembering. um, so, thoughts about this show?
I should have put it. I mean, on a surface level, they. How should I? I'm lost for word. You go first because I forgot the words for it.
Do you need me to send you a dictionary or?
No,
I'm sorry, that was bad.
okay.
Yay! My horrible joke worked. Go.
horrible joke. I don't see. Was that even a joke? Anyway.
Wow.
This is a show that could easily be about sports, about sort of like video games, screenwriters, you name it. And you can use that, essentially do that beat by beat, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And because of that, it's music involved. This is easily something that will something that will connect mostly with musician or music. Those that are really into music, so to speak. But even if you're not into music or big into music or what have you, I argue that the characters is enough well written that you could really enjoy the story, even if it arguably have a lot of I would argue that it goes by a checklist. The childhood friend, reason that he/she can't do said thing again, need because of what happening prior to the story start. It can start the beginning. In character X can't continue with it because something is mentally blocking it, and then he/she see or meet something that change their point of view and their help help him or her through that series, so it can mentally heal, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like I think also what I can see what you're trying to say, which I think is a very important point when describing this show, is that one of the strongest points of it is beyond the anime tropes of outrageous abuse on certain characters and
I
the
wouldn't argue.
outrageous.
I would argue that this story has, to some degree, even been told through Western media
Oh,
far more than once.
yeah. But what I was gonna go like beyond the anime tropes of like the caricatures, like whenever Kairi like screams or throws something at Koze, like those moments where it becomes really comical, right? Beyond those
Yeah,
moments that make it highlight as an anime, I think one of the biggest characteristics of the show is that every character feels real.
yeah, and
It is. Mhm.
characters feeling real is something that is extremely important to
Mhm.
stories like this. Have I mentioned Sunset Limited to you?
Huh?
Have I mentioned the movie Sunset Limited to you? Just
Yeah, you mentioned it before. Yeah, yes, you have.
yeah, it's for those that don't know, it's a movie that is, I can't recall how long that movie is. So wait just a second. The movie is 91 minutes long. And the entire thing is a conversation in an apartment between Tommy Lee Jones and Samuel L. Jackson. And sure, their acting helps a lot, so to speak. But also the conversation, the feeling of how the characters, the ideologically work and you get invested. Here, while the characters has certain tropes, I'm not gonna lie, they feel real. You enjoy following them, and that is what makes this show. This isn't. Wouldn't say this is Shakespeare. It's more. I can't come up with a good example right now, but I think you get what I mean.
Yeah, and I think the important part, I think it's good that you said that it isn't Shakespeare, because one of the thing about the when I think about Shakespeare, I don't know what a lot of people think about, but when I think about Shakespeare, I see theater portrayed in a way where characters tend to be overly dramatic to a degree. You know what I mean? They're characters that appear larger than life, and express themselves in such a way, even though they're living, you know, quote unquote real situations or scenarios. You know what I mean? Like this show, because it's not Shakespeare, it focuses on making these characters feel real and making them feel grounded. Of course, it is a slice of life show through and through, where there's 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 no fantasy elements apart from things that you know are moments where imagination takes over, which we all experiment through our lives. But the moments of happiness, the moments of connection, I think the dialogue on this show is phenomenal, because all every little exchange between every character is meaningful, builds upon the relationships, builds upon the plot, builds upon every single thread, that you become invested even on the supporting characters. And for a show that is so short, I mean, it's not ridiculously short, like 12 episodes, but it's only 22 episodes. You could say it has two seasons, has two parts. It's only 22 episodes. I like how, because of how real every interaction and every character is or feels like, whenever even a new character is introduced, I feel that I spent enough time with them. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times you have a show that does something great, introduces a new character, but you really like the new character. It feels like something that just came up at the back end or afterthought. You know what I mean? Like, every character is very smartly placed where they're introduced, and they all connect to this great web of relationships, of connections. Um, and I really like the show. I really like the show, especially because of that. Because at not once that I feel that I couldn't understand what that person was feeling, and to say that one of the biggest triumphs of the show is the way they deal with the idea of trauma, which they take a very particular route with it. Because you know how you have trauma as a driving force for a character, which we know that, at least throughout the show, in Kozei's life, the loss of his mother and other things that occur throughout the show is a driving force for his character, right?
Trust
But
me, I know exactly what you mean.
but what I love about how they use trauma is that they don't overly complicate it. You see what I'm saying?
Which, which, uh, which is, as I mentioned before, someone that suffers from PTSD. That I will argue that not over. He doesn't have PTSD, I know, but he still has. I would argue, but he still has trauma that
Mhm.
sort of like put his life in limbo. I would argue,
Mhm.
okay, slash limbo, and as
Yeah.
someone that can relate that kind of sort of had and still to some degree has
Hmm.
In his life in limbo, it was refreshing to see their approach to it compared to a certain anime that I wonder whenever you are going to post that old episode on the channel, it should be interesting to see
Yes.
the reaction to that one.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned also that, because going back to the idea of not overcomplicating trauma. Um, like I said, one of the reason why I think their handling of trauma is a big triumph for the show is because they capture one of the hardest things to capture when it comes to a person's personal and individual trauma, is that they capture the idea that, one, nobody really understands what he's going through and what he feels, but two, they are able to illustrate and take us into the world and into his suffering in a way that, even though it sounds complex, it makes it relatable. You know what I mean? Which is very hard to do in a way that doesn't feel forced, because what the way they portray it is that not every trauma is the same. Every trauma is different. And it's not about everybody understanding everything exactly, but it's all about people accepting that everyone's battles is different.
I read. It's
And
to give you an real example. I have more than once heard that you get it will get over. It will get over, and I'm just
mhm,
no. I
mhm,
can't just take a cup of coffee and take an aspirin and it's going to be
correct,
fine.
correct.
Uh, which you can argue that some people argue, no matter the trauma or something. Yes, sure, sure, I'm getting a lot more personal here than I expected, considering this isn't a. And sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Might be a lot more personal than some would prefer, so to speak. But this I should talk about my feelings in comparison, and just to get the knowledge out of what I believe in this series. And if you have, if you are suffering from trauma, insert insert situation here, because there are so many different scenarios.
Yeah, yeah.
You won't feel. I can guarantee you that you won't feel. Is insulted the right word?
Yes. And I think you hit it on the tee, because they treat everything with such care, and and not only with care, but they also emphasize how this is his struggle in his life. This is how trauma manifests. And and the way that his handling of the trauma evolves, because that's the other thing. The other beautiful thing that this show does is that it shows you, like, part of the message, of course, is that you can overcome trauma, but it's not because the trauma goes away. It's because you learn how to manage
Yeah.
it, which which is such a powerful lesson. Which is, and it this show does it tastefully. And of course, we're only talking about the first half. to a degree, like the first half of the show to a degree, which is which is so beautiful how it handles that. And of course, there's a lot of moments of laughter. There's a lot of moments of beauty in this show. The friendships of this show are phenomenal, and and going off still and staying in the trauma tangent or in the trauma theme. What a great way of portraying what a real support group among friends looks like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like if anybody's going through something, this is a show that you can relate to and connect with. If anybody wants to learn or have an idea what a healthy way of helping someone that's going through trauma looks like, look no further than this show. You know what I mean? To an extent, because some people could say that Kyrie's push of making him play was a bit of, you know what I mean? But the idea of him exposing himself and others helping him at his pace to a degree, um, it's actually pretty beautiful. Um, Now, I have an idea and a theory, Isaac, of why music plays such a central role to the story.
Because music is easily one of the most creative forces when no you one of the more powerful creative forces when it comes to bring in emotion for people, no matter who you're talking to.
That's one. That's definitely one. But to me, the biggest thing is because, for example, sports. If it was sports, because you were making the analogy of how this show is easily transferable to different scenarios, and it's true. It's not incorrect. But the reason why a lot of the way they deal with the idea of trauma, and specifically why the music analogy or frame works so well, is because music, like trauma, is abstract.
Yeah.
It's not something that, for example, when it comes to sports, you're either good or you're bad. You know what I mean? In music, yes, there is that level of professionalism and technicalities and technique and things that make you a professional musician. But the impact of music in different levels and skill is abstract. It's just like trauma, and just like music communicates with others in an abstract fashion and connects people. Understanding that trauma doesn't have one clean cut definition kind of pairs well with the idea of music, and the conversation that they have about transmitting one's emotions through music. And one of the best lines of the show is when towards the finale, where Arma it, is playing Chopin's ballad towards the series finale, is that he talks about how music is his way of talking what he doesn't know how to say, and the idea of reaching others, and and how that is so true. Like, a lot of people are suffering and a lot of people are going through things and they don't know how to open up, and the idea that music could be a way. And that's the other thing. They don't say that music is the only way. They say that that's the way that works for Arima. That's the tool. That's his therapy, you know? And I don't know, man. I think it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. Um Now, I would like to talk about the whole falling in love thing, the falling in love angle. Um what a poetic and beautiful show. I mean, forget about the, yes, I know, heartbreak and some things don't go right and all that. I know all that. And I know this show, there's if you're not if you're not ready to cry, this is not your show. You're gonna cry. You're crying on your light in April. But I love how you fall in love with Kari as Koze is falling in love with her.
Yes, go on, go on.
No. That's pretty much it. I wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah,
Like,
I can. Did you know that there's a Your Lie in April movie, live
yes,
action?
there is a live action version. There is a live action version, which might be something to put in a poll to see if people want us to cover it. But yes, there's a live
Oh,
action Your Lie in April, and it actually came
also,
out. Go ahead.
it came out a year after the series ended.
Right, which is like fast track, like crazy. That's how big this show was.
Yeah. Just curious. Did you watch it in English or sub or dub?
I watched it both. I watched like 50% dubbed and another 20, like almost half and half, because I wanted to hear both. So
Did you know that about a third of the uh, about a third of the voice cast is either persona and or Fire Emblem voice actor for this.
can we talk about how the animation screams Persona?
Yeah.
Like
Wait,
Koze looks like
did,
Koze. What I mean by that is Koze looks like Joker.
which is
Like,
kind of ironic considering it's
yeah,
Ryuji, that Max Bettelman that's doing the voice of English voice of Kosuke.
yeah. Like there's like the animation style. It's really reminiscent of Persona 5, which is it's actually pretty cool.
Isn't it a one picture that
Yeah,
makes five
it's
anime?
A1 Pictures. It is A1 Pictures. I think so. So,
The
but
fact that the fact that cutscenes in a video game looks a lot better than high budget anime. Oh well, that's
oh
a
wow,
story for another day.
yes. But yeah, this show is so about the falling in love, Isaac. This being a tale of love, that angle. I thought it was very refreshing and very well thought out. What do you think?
How should I put it? It's to some degree you can argue that in specifically slice of life, the two main protagonists, or should I even call it protagonist in no, sorry, main characters. I wouldn't call brain freeze. I wouldn't call Kaori or Kusuke a protagonist, so to speak. But
Right, they're main characters. Like all four
main
of them.
character.
Yeah, all four of them, like the four friends, Carrie. That's why you see them in the portrait. Like I mean, you got Watari, you got Carrie, you got Kosei, and you have Tsubaki.
Yeah, and what was I going with it? But it's to some point that you can argue that it's way more refreshing when the characters are just friends and just that, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But when they are done right, it's done right, and I absolutely agree with you that they executed the relationship between the two maybe not perfectly, but close to it.
No, and I like how, without being like a nauseating soap opera, you know what I mean? um, the
Yeah.
idea of this quasi triangle where you have Watari, Kari, and Koze, and then you have Koze, Tsubaki, and Kari, and the idea that falling in love is different for boys and girls, because also what I found really well done is how you follow Koze and his adventure about falling in love for the first time, and on the other side of it you also have Tsubaki discovering love, you know what I mean, and understanding it, and how they both have very different experiences that could be related to gender but not necessarily, but how they give you those two examples because everybody has their own love story. Everybody arrives to that conclusion of being in love a different way. And I like that this show does that with multiple characters, because you get the same thing towards the end with Kari. You have the playboy Watari, which just wants
Oh
to be with every
my.
cute girl. Yes. Um, but yeah, and I think it does it so well. And it's really enjoyable to watch. And I think that the writers were just on the money, man. Like this is the kind of show that I want to read the manga, because I want to know how faithful it is to the material. It's only 11 volumes long, so it's something that'll be easy to collect. But I want to, this is the kind of thing that I would like to have and capture. Um, Now, before I jump to the final thing that I think we should discuss about the show, is there anything in particular that stood out to you that you say that you want to bring to the table, that you want to talk about?
No. No.
Okay. So I'm about to drop some knowledge up in this place. You ready for this?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. Um, but for those that do not know, this show is special to me also for a different reason, and Isaac said why. Because I'm an aspiring musician. But not only because I'm an aspiring musician, I actually went to a conservatory and I graduated with a bachelor's degree in classical music. So this show takes place in my world. Like, I am in love with Beethoven, Bach, Chopin. I love Mendelssohn. I love classical music, and I've been I lived within for 6 years in an environment where I breathed and lived classical music, and the people that become the best are inspiring to other people, and how this show emulates that world, the rivalry, competition, the camaraderie, the high stakes of it, does it in a very tasteful manner. And not only that, of course, because it's mostly piano, they pick great pieces. They pick great interpretations and recordings, and also the fact that they know what real good music sounds like, especially when and how they play with, how I know that they picked actual artists to play. I haven't researched it, but I know, especially in the moments where you see Koze struggling to play again, where his playing drastically changes. I love how the commentary from the musicians, from the judges, and how the color of the keys of the piano change as you press them, and how you interpret. What a great way of introducing people to the world of classical musicianship that a lot of people probably don't know. Like a lot of people just look at the top hat kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like people, the fancy people, the rich people that go watch concerts of orchestras and stuff like that. Um, but I like how it makes it very accessible because they're all students. So there is this level of naivete and this lightness to it where it's serious for them, but not too serious so that other people don't understand what's going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because because this particular world is very easy to exclude a lot of people. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those realms of art where you can easily exclude a lot of people just because they don't understand or they don't know. But they made it so accessible um, because of the friends that Koze has that are not musicians, which is, by the way, what a great decision that it doesn't take place in a music school. It's not like they're all musicians in a band. No, two of the main characters are musicians. The other two are not. And that actually informs their characters in a big way. You know what I mean? Because their interaction with music is very different. I like the whole thing with Tsubaki and how she hates music at times because of how it affects the relationship that she has with Koze. Like, I don't know, man. This show surprised me in so many ways. And I have to say it. I like being light in April.
No comment.
um, I think it's official, Isaac. I think we've talked plenty, but I think the Amateur Otaku recommends Your Lie in April. What do you think?
Oh, I was muted. Uh, I absolutely agree with you. Highly recommend it. Specifically if you're a slice of life fan that have missed it.
Yeah. You don't need to be a musician to watch and enjoy this show. But if you are, you'll enjoy it in different levels. If you love slice of life, you'll love it. If you like romance stories, coming of age stories, you'll love this show. This show is fantastic. The pacing is great. It's just the right amount of episodes. Each episode is packed with so much goodness. Um, but it's also very easy to binge. It's on Netflix, so you can binge it there. So you got to go check it out. Go check out Your Lie in April. Based on what we've discussed here, you have more than enough information without us revealing the plot at all or going into spoiler details. You have a lot of information to know what the show is about and why you should watch it and why it's awesome. If you're looking for something that will break your heart but leave you with a smile on your face, go watch Your Lie in April. It is awesome. You need to. Now, Isaac, I do want to talk a little bit about spoilers, about the big things that happen in the show, especially towards the end. So we're going to end the show here. If you guys saw the Erase episode, I divided it into a spoiler one and a non spoiler one. Our spoiler section on this episode is not going to be that extensive. So I don't think I'm going to cut this one, but I do want to announce right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would
I'm going to
argue that
announce.
spoiler section might be a better part for if we do the movie, honestly. Because I think we have pretty much covered the entire thing.
So you know what?
Frank.
That's a good idea. Let's go ahead. Let's do that, guys. I'm going to put a poll, and if you guys want us to cover the live action Your Lie in April movie, we'll do a live. We'll do a live. We'll watch it. We'll cover it, and we'll do a full spoiler of the movie and and the anime and the
Yeah,
show.
because then we can compare if you get the same impact for the characters and more importantly the ending, which I
Yeah.
think if we would cover the movie, we would definitely discuss in that episode.
Well done. What a great suggestion, Isaac. Isaac, that's why I keep you around. Because whenever I'm starting to veer into the madness, you come back with clarity and say, Brandon, madness is where I live, not where you belong. That's wonderful. No, but that was a great suggestion. So, guys, thank you for joining us at the Amateur Otaku Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and click that bell for notifications. If you like what we do here, share with your friends. Also, if you like to listen in a podcast format, the Amateur Otaku Podcast is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are heard. You can find the Amateur Otaku Podcast. If you have any recommendations, if you have any comments, any questions, reach out to us at Amateur Otaku Pod or amateurOtakuRTF@gmail.com. Send us your thoughts and recommendations, and we will cover it on the show. We are in the process of watching Vinland Saga. I have another recommendation from one of my coworkers, actually, Isaac. Um, and he recommended that we see Shobits.
Come again?
He recommended that we see Shobits.
How do you spell that one?
Chobitz.
C
Apparently,
O C C.
yeah, Chobitz. It's called Shobits. About a guy and an android. It's supposed to be very funny. Um, it looks interesting. I saw the intro, but yeah, we're getting recommendations. If you guys recommend to show it to us, we will try and cover it and watch it.
Oh, this one.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Why the response, Isaac? Do you know something that I don't?
Maybe.
Oh boy. But yes, send us your recommendations. We will cover it on the show. More than anything, we want to form a community with you guys and talk anime with you guys and enjoy. Thank you for joining us so much. And thank you for listening to our thoughts on Your Line April. Isaac, this is awesome. This was an awesome episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. I won't lie about it. That's for sure.
Oh my god. So Isaac, we're about to head out. Where can people find you in the webs?
You can find me over at Emblemania on Twitter, and you can find my work over at Robin Entertainment, who's recently got some big, big stuff. And my Padawan has finally put a post up on the Warbam.
Yeah, I made my Wobam debut. So you can find me at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Twitter, at the Scarlet Fan 52 on Instagram, and you can find me Brandon Alvarado on Facebook. Also, you can find my writings at Wobam Entertainment. I reignited my series, The Scarlet Fan Presents, where I pretty much do the same thing that I do at the Amateur Otaku, even though the Amateur Otaku is solely anime. Scarlet Fan Presents does the same thing, but with anything that I want to do. It could be a comic book, it could be a manga, it could be a movie, it could be a show, something that I think it's awesome. I hype it up while also introducing it to people, and hopefully you guys watch it and check it out and get excited about it. So, thank you for joining us, guys. Have it awesome. We will see you next week with our coverage of The Promised Neverland, which hopefully we get 2 episodes this time, and our coverage of Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence, the second anime feature film of the great major of sci-fi, the great female-led series Ghost in the Shell. Have it awesome, guys. Peace.
Peace.